Hello, welcome to a Thursday Business News Report. Now we start over news across Nigeria. As in a period of 6 years, the federal government's total borrowing from the Central Bank of Nigeria through ways and means advances has ballooned to 15.51 trillion naira, rising by 2.28%. It is important to note that the 15.51 trillion naira owed by the federal government to the central bank is not part of the country's total public debt stock, which stood at 33.11 trillion naira as of the end of the first quarter of this year, according to the Debt Management Office. Now, the public debt stock comprises the debt of the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 state governments, and the Federal Capital Territory. Ways and means advances on the other side is a loan facility used by the central bank to finance the government in periods of temporary budget shortfalls, subject to limits imposed by law. According to Section 38 of the CBN Act of 2007, the bank may grant temporary advances to the federal government in respect of temporary deficiency of budget revenue at such rate of interest as the bank may determine. And away from that report now, the chairman of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Ikeja branch, Olutosin Ogumola, has urged electricity distributors in the country to scale up their operations in order to satisfy the growing demand for effective power supply across the country. Addressing journalists at a business luncheon organized by the chapter as part of activities to mark this year's Engineering Week, Mr. Ogumola also maintains that power remains an integral part of Nigeria's economic growth and development, as it plays a vital role in the advancement of the country's manufacturing sector. He further explains that a sustainable industrial sector thrives in constant electricity supply, thereby boosting manufacturing, commercial activities, and by extension, creating more jobs. Hallmark of the event is the presentation of a preliminary report on Lagos State Engineering Index and Infrastructure Scorecard by the Ikeja NSE to the governor of the state.
We were trying to see how can our discos actually prioritize industries. How can they prioritize, commercial entities towards actually expanding industrialization. The truth of the matter is that no country can get ahead without industrialization, and without power, you cannot talk of the industrialization. And that is why we have come together to look at this.
A lot of people are paying for what they are not consuming, and it's an agreed fact. So they need to look inward to make sure that their metering is properly done, people are captured, and people that are doing energy theft, they need to devise a way to make sure that they checkmate them, they pay for what they consume, so that there will be equity among.
And away from the power sector now, former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and past emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi, has called for better support for the less privileged in the society. He also sees the need for all to put away fear and greed while selflessly working towards the overall growth and development of the country. The former emir was speaking at a reception held in his honor by the platform, a national interest group with focus on better Nigeria. naIra Falayo has the details.
The former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and immediate past emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi, being celebrated at this August gathering in August. He preaches the message of selflessness to all Nigerians, while hoping that the less privileged in our society are better assisted.
We must remember the millions that are out there who are starving. Those who are malnourished, those who are sick, those who are out of school. And if we don't spend every minute of our life thinking, how can we give them a little bit of what we have been blessed with, we have a problem.
The former monarch says he has no immediate plans to go into politics, but has been documenting his experience as CBN governor in a soon-to-be-published book, which, according to him, could be controversial. He hopes to return to academics and publishing after completing his doctorate program in law.
I spent the last year in Oxford writing about my central banking experience, another book that will be controversial, and it's 20 chapters. I have already completed 16, so that should come out next year.
This celebration of the former Apex Bank governor is a mastermind of the platform, a group of individuals working towards national good. It is a mix of the older and younger generation who have, amongst other areas, sought solutions to challenges in the north, rising poverty, and the country's general setbacks.
If you don't have ideas, you cannot reform. You've got to know what's wrong, why it's wrong, why you want to fix it, from where you want to fix it, and where you want to fix it to.
The platform has so far offered suggestions to issues like post-COVID interventions, socio-economic development, and a review of the End SARS protest, amongst many other areas of national interest. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
And now the value of the naira will continue to trade weak against the dollar and other global currencies until government takes steps to correct the present fiscal and economic situation in the country. An economic analyst is urging the country's financial authorities to review current policies to guard against the further economic downturn the nation is forecast to experience. TVC News correspondent Ifeanyi Eze tells us more.
Is there a likelihood of seeing a significant appreciation of the naira against the dollar? This is a tough question in view of Nigeria's current monetary and fiscal situation. At the moment, current demand for foreign exchange far outstrips its availability. Dwindling capital importation, global economic downturn are some of the factors significantly affecting diaspora remittances, and the constant depletion of the country's foreign exchange reserve, leading to some policies being described as unfavorable. Johnson Chukwu is an economic expert. From his standpoint, the prevailing economic problems cannot be resolved overnight, but he believes that in the short and medium term, government has to take certain proactive measures.
With the appropriate policies, even without much improvement in infrastructure, you're going to see improvement in capital flow. And I'll tell you an instance, at some point we're having huge capital importation in the country. It wasn't because we had better infrastructure then. It was because we had the right policies. One of those policies that we need to address the issue of foreign portfolio investors funds that are trapped within the local economy, who have sold their local currency investment but cannot repatriate their funds. If you address that and clear those areas, you're going to see them come back. But as long as those areas are still outstanding, nobody would want to jump into a hole when those who are in the hole can come out.
He warns that banning bureau d'change operators from accessing foreign exchange from commercial banks could frustrate legitimate foreign exchange demands that may require quick access, noting that this impediment would further worsen foreign exchange rate, aggravate inflation, and corrupt practices.
The central bank must recognize that there are some demands that are legitimate in the BDC window, that are satisfied with the BDC window that the banks under the current regulation cannot satisfy. Either the central bank will create a fast-track window to accommodate such demands and also fund those demands, or the central bank have to consider strengthening the regulatory framework for the BDCs and allow BDCs to operate. When you take out the BDCs without a replacement that can fit perfectly or improve on what they're doing, you have a shortfall at the minimum in terms of distribution channels.
He notes that lack of logistic infrastructure to drive export as a critical foreign exchange earning tool is another area for government's deliberate action. Ifeanyi Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, it's now time to bring you a highlight of the trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange as the stock market recorded another level of lower transactions as investors also maintain cautious trades. Efinga Cup reports.
Securities trading at the nation's stock market closed flat as many trade sectors recorded average transactions. Losses were huge in the insurance sector, where Prestige Assurance, Regal Insurance, and Mutual Benefits finished with weak indices. Funds managers maintained the attitude of holding up investment funds, minimizing forecasts on trade losses. Shocks in the larger economy have continued to frighten investors who have now shown low appetite for stock picks. Pharmadeco, BOC Gas, and Honeywell Flour made gains on their share prices. The volume of shares traded dropped significantly to the region of 132 million shares, with the value a little above 2 billion naira. And in the money market, the naira showed stability in red. One American dollar traded for 411 naira in the official money market window. The British pound sterling exchanged for 567 naira. Ifyong Ekop, TVC News, Lagos.
And that's it from the business desk this morning.